Welcome to the grim tales of folklore horror stories. You will now be introduced to one of the most mysterious creatures of Nordic folklore, Huldra. This creature is often depicted as a beautiful woman with golden locks and a soothing and enchanting voice. The creature usually dwells by water sources like rivers and waterfalls of the Nordic wilderness, luring her prey in by her appearance, then showing its true form before feasting on human flesh. Although depicted as a horrible creature, the Huldra has a protective side, especially for fertile women and innocent souls inhabiting the forest. This is the story of a young woman and her encounter with a Huldra. Imagine the biting sound of the chilling cold against a wooden wagon, with the distinct hiss of the young woman's breath visible in the air. Her body aches from the cruel confinement, her spirit dampened by the harsh reality of her predicament. She finds herself trapped, kidnapped by an evil bandit engaged in the vile act of human trafficking. The wagon rattles on, the noise echoing ominously, taking her further away from the familiar, deeper into the unknown, towards a destination only God knows. She shivers, not just from the audible whispering of the biting cold, but also from the bone-deep fear that clings to her like a second skin. She is a captive, but once she had been free. She had run away from her strict, harsh family, seeking liberation, seeking life. She had chosen a path that many would scorn. She became a prostitute. It was a decision born out of desperation, a desperate need to survive. But that choice had led her here, to this wagon, to this bandit, to a fate worse than she could have ever imagined. Her fingers, bloodied and raw, scrape at the wagon's wooden floorboard, the sound of it grating and full of determination. She is desperate, she is determined. She finds an unlikely tool, a rotting chicken leg, the bone just sharp enough to pry at the nails holding her wooden prison together. With every scrape, every tug, she dreams of freedom, of escape. But she is not alone. There is a presence, a figure in the woods. The faint rustling of leaves and snapping of twigs hint at her existence. A blonde girl, perhaps. Is she a figment of her desperate imagination, or is she real? The young woman isn't sure. All she knows is she must escape. She must survive. She claws at the floorboard, the wood groaning under her persistent assault. She manages to loosen a nail, then another, creating just enough room for her to squeeze through. A glimmer of hope blooms in her chest. She could escape, she could survive, but the bandit, he sees her. The chase begins. She is running for her life, running towards the unknown. In her heart, she knows she must escape or die trying. Crows resting in the trees, flaps their wings and flies away as the girl runs for the hope of safety among the dark and cold Nordic wilderness. The chilling air of the old and haunting woods lashes at her exposed skin, but she pushes through the pain, the fear fueling her onward. Her bare feet pound against the hard, cold ground, each step a stinging reminder of her desperate situation. Behind her, the bandit's enraged shout echoing through the forest. She doesn't dare to look back, her mind focused solely on the path ahead, her breath rasping in her throat. She plunges deeper into the woods, the gnarly trees closing in around her like an ominous labyrinth. Every rustle, every snap of a twig sends her heart racing, the bandit's heavy footfalls growing ever closer. She can almost feel his hot breath on her neck, his cruel laughter ringing in her ears. Her strength wanes with each passing moment, her body battered and bruised. A small river appears before her, its waters shimmering under the weak moonlight. With the last ounce of her strength, she stumbles behind a large stone, her breath hitching as she collapses onto the damp, cold ground. Her heart beats a frantic rhythm in her chest, her lungs gasping for air. She curls up, her body trembling from cold and exhaustion. The harsh reality of her predicament washes over her, the tears rolling down her cheeks. She is alone, lost in an unforgiving wilderness, hunted by an evil man. Then, as if on cue, the forest falls silent. The bandit's thunderous pursuit seems to fade into the distance. A strange calm descends upon her, her ragged breaths slowly evening out. She strains her ears, her body tensed, ready to bolt at the slightest sound. But instead of the bandit's threatening growl, a different sound reaches her. A melody, soft and haunting, pierces the silence, echoing through the trees. It's a song without words, yet it carries a weight of emotion that leaves her breathless. It's beautiful, captivating, and eerily soothing. As darkness closes in around her, a haunting melody pierces the silence. From the depths of her despair, a vision of golden beauty emerges. The young woman's bloodshot eyes are drawn to a mesmerizing sight by the river. A woman with locks of gold dancing down her back stands barefoot on the river's edge. Her voice, a melody of pure enchantment, rises and falls with the rustling leaves, a siren's song echoing through the dense woods. The beauty of her song is only outdone by the hypnotic rhythm of her dance, each movement fluid, each step purposeful. The young woman watches as the evil bandit, entranced by the golden-haired siren, stumbles out of the shadows. His eyes, usually filled with malice, now glimmer with an avaricious desire. The bandit is captivated, drawn in like a moth to a flame, his vile intentions momentarily forgotten. His eyes are fixated on the enchanting stranger, her beauty a beacon in the darkness of the forest. As the bandit approaches, his greasy fingers outstretched towards the beautiful woman, an eerie calmness descends. The singing fades to a whisper, the dancing slows, and the forest holds its breath. The golden woman turns, her eyes meeting those of the bandit. A moment of silence hangs in the air, the tension palpable. Then, with a swift, horrifying transformation, the beautiful woman is no more. But as he reaches for the woman, she transforms into a nightmare. Before the young woman's eyes, the enchanting beauty becomes a skeletal monster. The air crackles with a palpable fear as the golden dancing maiden transforms into the Huldra, a creature of ancient Nordic lore. Her once captivating eyes now glow with an eerie, ruthless light, her spine jutting out like a grotesque tree trunk. The bandit, caught in the spell of her terrifying metamorphosis, is paralyzed with dread. The Huldra lunges, a horrifying spectacle of fangs and bone. The bandit's screams echo through the dense forest, a chilling testament to his brutal end. The once tranquil river now runs red, a stark contrast to the serene beauty it held moments before. The young woman, hidden behind the stone, watches in frozen horror as the Huldra's vengeance unfolds. Each agonizing cry from the bandit sends shivers down her spine, yet she can't tear her eyes away from the gruesome scene. Despite the terror gripping her heart, a strange sense of relief washes over her. Her captor is no more. As the screams subside and the Huldra retreats, the young woman is left alone with the chilling silence of the forest. Yet she isn't alone. The Huldra, now a terrifying guardian, watches over her. Despite its monstrous appearance, it shows her kindness, a silent promise of protection. In the midst of her horror, the young woman finds an unlikely savior.